What's up, everybody? It's Eoin here again from the HiiKER podcast. I hope everybody's keeping well. On this show, we'll have another featured hiker, longtime friend to HiiKER, adventurer, mental wellness advocate, and all-round wild woman, Abbie Barnes. The list of long-distance hikes that Abbie has completed is actually way too long to go through. She's even repeated some trails like the West Highland Way and the Coast to Coast Walk in the UK. So at the time of recording this call, Abbie was in the middle of Europe somewhere, so we caught up for a little chat, talking about how she got into long distance hiking. She opens up a bit about her own mental health challenges, and we discuss how she's using her organisation to spend more time in the wild to get more people outdoors as a form of mental well-being. As always, any of the trails that we discuss in this episode are featured in the HiiKER app. So if you haven't done so already, download the HiiKER app for free now in your local app store, or head over to hiiker.app, that's HiiKER.app, to discover over 1,000 long distance hiking trails from all over the world. Lastly, I'd love to hear what you think about this podcast. You can reach out to me, you can send me an email, it's podcast@hiiker.co, or you can reach out on our social media channels. So just search HiiKER in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus. I don't know if we actually use Google Plus, but you can find us somewhere. Yeah, enjoy this interview with Abbie Barnes.
Hey, how are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
That was a good intro, wasn't it?
It was pretty sick, yeah.
One take.
Love it.
Abbie, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're in the middle of a bunch of filming and you've got a lot of stuff going on. Do you want to give me like a kind of an overview of what you're doing right now and where you are?
Yeah, sure. So, well, firstly, thank you for having me. I mean, it's so good to be here. I love what you guys are doing with HiiKER. Avid user of the app. The maps have saved my boots a few miles on a number of occasions. So thank you very much for that. Yes, so at the moment I'm on a road trip with my partner. We have been filming throughout Germany and Austria in the Alps, shooting different content, all for wild. And then we've nipped down to Italy, partly a family trip, but also, we've been shooting some fun things, sort of branching out or diversifying the content that I put out with wild. And then in a week or so, depending on the weather. I mean, everything is very weather dependent with filming, but we're going to head up to the Malerweg, so back into Germany. Malerweg is a 70-mile trail, also known as the Painter's Way, and it's supposed to be really rather stunning. So we'll be shooting on there as well. So lots of films basically in the making, lots of presenting to camera, lots of brainstorming new ideas. But the idea of all of it cumulatively is to inspire and empower people to get outside for the benefit of mental and physical health.
Amazing. And like, I suppose now, as more than any time, people do kind of need that inspiration because, again, we're recording this in the middle of a global pandemic, and there's people being locked down. I know here in Ireland, as I said to you earlier on, like we're going into another lockdown. I'm sure in the UK that there's several different layers. So it's really inspiring and it's great to have people like yourself that are out there able to shoot this type of content, put it out there, and just keep that kind of wild spirit. So from everybody watching your content, past and future, thank you so much.
No, pleasure. No, it's obviously it's been a bit of a test coming out here, as you say, worldwide pandemic. You really question, are we doing the right thing? But this is as much for me and my mental stability as it is for wild. Finding myself restricted in the movement, freedom of movement, being able to get outside. I mean, it's something I need to do in order to literally keep myself alive when it comes to managing my own mental health. And backpacking, has saved me over and over again. And wild was forged through the realization that, I needed nature. I needed that time outside to help me to get through. And making the decision to come out here was a big step. We drove down, we've done everything we can to minimize, the likelihood of COVID being spread or whatever however you want to describe it. We're being as responsible as we possibly can. And as you probably know, when you're on the trail, you really don't bump into too many people anyway. I've seen more a mountain goat than people, I think, when I was in the Alps, but it's been very testing in its own ways. But for me, I very much see life as a trail in itself. You know how the trail has the twists and turns, the ups and downs, the good days, the bad days, and life is just like that. And I really try and embrace it for all it has to offer. We never really know what's coming next, but I'm one to take up an opportunity if it appeals.
So talk to me a bit about what got you into hiking in general. So I'm sure, you know, you're probably into the outdoors, but hiking, what got you hiking?
So I love sort of anything outdoors really. As a kid, rock crawling, cycling, all sorts, anything outdoors. You know, I had a very fine collection of sticks and rocks, I do have to say, probably one of the finest in the lands. But you know, it's very much like part of who I am as a person. And as kids, you know, we were taken to Wales and to the Lake District, just hike up and down Skiddaw and Snowdon every so often. So I was very much used to being out in the elements. But I actually didn't start camping until I was 18. For my 18th birthday, we went camping, me and my mum. And when I was 16, so a little bit of a reversal there, we did the West Highland Way for the first time. That was my first long distance trail. Wow. We carried everything with us. And then basically every year we set ourselves a trail. We did B&B initially, and it wasn't until 2016. So how old was I then? Something like that. So 18, 19, something like that. I headed out and did my first trails on my own. I set myself the goal of walking all of the UK's national trails, so designated long distance footpaths that are managed by the National Trails Organisation. And that's sort of where Wild was birthed as an organisation, because I wasn't able to complete this challenge due to mental ill health. And I actually ended up sort of shutting myself away for 3 months from the world, not really going outside, a very vulnerable space. But then, you know, it really wasn't hard for me to be lured back into the hiking scene. And now it's just so much. It's very much who I am. And I love it. I love everything it represents. I love the community. I love the gear, obviously. I love the health side of it, physically and mentally, and what it represents there for me as well.
And did filmmaking then just come naturally out of that, or was that something that was happening in tandem? And then you were like, oh, maybe I'll do this. I'll fit this into my trails.
Yeah, I think that's a cool question, actually, because when I was 13, I started making films. So my background is very much in conservation. I'm very passionate about the planet and helping to protect it. And I shot a film. I literally just talked to the camera and bracket, illegally, close bracket, copy pasted some pictures off of Google and put them on top of what I was talking about with regards to palm oil and the unsustainable production of palm oil. And the film actually won a competition place. I just entered it into a kids competition. And as a result, I got to speak in the European Parliament about the unsustainable production of palm oil. A couple of years later, I won a film competition about marine debris, and that was awarded by David Attenborough. And then a year or two later, I was on top of Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, highest freestanding mountain in the world, shooting a film about global climate change, how that's affecting the mountain's glaciers, and everything around that. So my background is conservation and filmmaking in that way. I chose film consciously as a medium in order to communicate my passions and meaningful things, meaningful conversations to initiate them. But basically, the hiking came out of just documenting those, family trips that me and mum did when I was 16, 17, 18. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the challenge, the perspective. And I put up a couple of little videos when I was younger and people seemed to like them. And so I was like, well, this is easy enough. It's nice for me to just film my trip. And obviously, as time has gone by, it's morphed into, an entire organization, documenting trails all around the world. It's as much about building an archive of routes as it is telling my story. And it is about just having fun on the trail. I mean, that's one of the values of Wild, is to live life well and to laugh every day. But it is about diving a little bit deeper and what can we learn from our time on the trail. I always believe there's something we can take away, even if things don't go to plan. There's a lesson there. And I try and just encourage my viewers to open their hearts, open their minds to that experience, rather than just sort of gritting their teeth and pushing through for the sake of the challenge. We can really be very humbled by our time out and about in nature. And, these trails can take us into some of the most stunning places. They can really put our lives into a bit of perspective, and just want to encourage people to embrace that.
And actually, I was speaking to somebody else there recently about the growing popularity of hiking and general outdoor activities. And while that's absolutely amazing for the industry and for everybody's well-being and mental health, there is a kind of a cross line of conservation. Um, where is the line there, I suppose? Like, or is there a line, or what do we do to try and kind of educate people while they're coming out? Because we do it as much as you. We're a business that's set up to invite people out to hike these trails, and we try to show people that there's more than just in Ireland the Wicklow Way, or there's more than the PCT, or there's more than just the West Island Way. There's all these hundreds of long distance trails around, but at the end of the day, all these popular trails are going to get even more popular.
Yeah.
I
think, I think first of all, I love that you're asking this question, because it shows that consciousness, that awareness that I think a lot of people are lacking. And I find that quite hard to digest. And I feel very responsible, everything that I do. I mean, we've got nearly 4 million viewers now on with Wild, and encouraging people to go outside. Like, I want to make sure those people are going outside with good values, and they want to protect and preserve the places that they're learning to treasure. And actually that's part of where Wild was forged, is that I wanted to help people get outside to have meaningful memories, and therefore they'd want to protect the places that they're exploring. So that's the conservation foundation that I'm working from here. I think it's an awesome question. I don't have a black and white answer. I have a few ideas, but I think, what's nice is these days we're able to see, especially since lockdown, I think people have been very creative, with mountain litter cleans, beach cleanups, like National Hiking Day. We've got Ordnance Survey, they've got their National Get Outside Day, or whatever it is, on the 27th of September. So there's lots of things going on. There is growing awareness, and I believe conservation and action, conversation, and action are, the best places to start. The people just remembering things like the Countryside Code. And I think it really is just about attitude and perspective. I think, if people see you or I ahead of them on the trail with a bag picking up rubbish, they're going to question their actions. Hopefully you'd guess that. And I think if people can enjoy time outside, then, that awareness will grow as they learn to treasure those spaces. But things like, footpath erosion, things like, it's not just the litter, there's a lot to it. There's that wear and tear that we're all, not intentionally adding to. And I think if we can support organizations who do work to protect the places that we love and cherish, I think that can make a big difference as well. There's the National Trust, there's the BMC, there's what's the Scotland one? I don't know, National Trust Scotland. There's a whole bunch of different, I don't know what you've got in Ireland as well, but these guys are doing their part. And I think, as people who, you pay to use a car park, I think we should be putting back into the wild places that we almost can call home, because they're special to us.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So something you said that struck me, seeing somebody up ahead of you picking up rubbish, and something actually happened today. I was out walking with my 11-year-old daughter, Caitlin, and she had seen me only last week out hiking a trail. I just picked up a bit of rubbish when I was walking back, and I carried it to the end of the trail and put it into a bin, or recycled it. And she called over to me and said, Dad, are we picking up rubbish today?
Oh, that's good. I love it.
And she picked it up herself and put it into her pocket. So it was very, very...
Well, kids are an awesome place to start, setting them the challenge of how much rubbish can we pick up.
Exactly.
And, let's take it back. They want to do their part. They're excited by it. They don't care about what it looks like, if they'll be judged or questioned for their motives. They just do it. And I think as adults, it's very easy for us to be tamed and to lose our childish nature with regards to just acting, because that's what's on our heart. But also, living in awe and the questioning, I think, is something we should always strive to bring back in. The awe of nature naturally makes us want to do our part, play our part in protecting it. So holding on to that childishness is something I'm a big advocate for.
Yeah, I heard, I think it was a comedian saying at one point, when you grow up, you don't just turn into an adult, you lose your childhood. You're forced into this fake adulthood where you're told, fun is for the weekends, it's not for a journey.
Which is sad, it really is sad, because I really believe that, we are creative beings, we are expressive beings, and tapping into that quote unquote childish nature is something that can really allow our true our true nature to flourish, and the outdoors can help us to do that as well. So let's not stay suppressed. That's what I say.
So you've quite a CV when it comes to the amount of trails that you've done.
Now, yeah.
So like your first one was the West Highland Way at the age of 16. So you walked the entire way with your 2 feet.
Yes, with my 2 feet. My hands weren't involved, actually.
and probably a giant bag.
Yeah, it was really big, actually. Even though we were being big, I look at the pictures like, how? What did I have in
there? So tell me about like the trails that you've done. West Highland Way being one of them, but I believe you hiked it more than once.
Yes, I hiked it again in 2018. That was when I actually first started sort of working full-time for Wild, or running Wild full-time. I mean, it is my organization. So I did a little bit of personal training on the side. I'm a trained qualified PT. But yes, so the West Highland Way, it is a special trail. And even though I've done it twice, like I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's busy because it's the West Highland Way, but it is everything you expect it to be. It's an awesome trail. I love it.
Yeah, it's like 150 kilometers, I think, or like 94 miles.
Yeah, 94, 96, something like that.
And it kind of gives you like this one-stop shop of like the Scottish Highlands, and it just gives you like you're brought through all of the highlights of the Highlands, if I'm correct. But that's not the only trail that you've hiked in Scotland. You've hiked the Rob Roy Way. Maybe actually, yep. I'll let you list off some of the trails that you've done.
No, it's all good. Yes, so the West Highland Way I've done twice. I've done the Rob Roy Way, the Great Glen Way, and I've done parts of the Southern Upland Way, but I haven't completed that as a full trail yet. There was ideas to do the Cape Wrath this year, but it's just a big commitment time-wise. And sort of documenting that, I figure will be just a little bit more challenging with regards to the remoteness of it. And actually, it doesn't. I'm very much heart-led in everything that I do, and it doesn't quite hit the spot for what I'm looking for at the moment. It's wild and it's remote, but it's not. I mean, it'd be a grand adventure, but I'm very much at the moment looking for big mountains and big challenges in that way. Physical challenges, getting higher, pushing a bit faster. But I do have a very special place for Scotland in my heart. Spent a week up there in August, I think it was. Just doing some different peaks, Ben Vorlich, Ben Lurman, Ben Leddy, just again documenting the different walks that you can do in the days, and I just love it. The Midgeys, perhaps a bit. But,
that was my next question. I was like, where you swarmed, did it drive you?
A couple of places, we sat down to do some. Well, actually, I literally, it's funny we're having this conversation. I upload videos every Monday onto YouTube, and I just finished editing some top tips for the West Highland Way, so that's just gone out. But we were shooting for that, and like I couldn't get beyond the first 3 sentences. The Midges were just so dense. So in other places they're fine. That's not all Scotland has to offer.
Yeah. No, I've it's always been on the list, but I've been attacked. Well, attacked is the wrong word, but I've been sworn.
It is an attack.
It is an attack.
It feels very personal.
Yeah, especially when it's strength in numbers, and they definitely, when you go into the Scotland, like they definitely have the numbers. So it's one of those things that was always kind of like in my head, like, do I want to endure that? And I suppose, do you have any kind of top tips for avoiding them, or any kind of eco-friendly?
My number one top tip is to bring me, because I'm the one who gets eaten. So they'll all be on me and not on you.
Okay. I'll let you know. I'll give you a call whenever I'm planning.
Yeah, great. All right, I'll pop it in the diary. Just give me a bit of notice.
Sweet. Okay, awesome.
No, I find that I'm definitely someone who does get eaten. We're here in Italy at the moment, southern Italy, and it's not the kind of place you expect to find mozzies, but my legs have just been absolutely shredded by them. They seem to be very attracted to my blood, which I can say, well, at least I have blood someone likes. But I would just, I just encourage people, wear your longer sleeves. You can use smidge, you can use Avon Skin So Soft, which is always a funny conversation to have with people. Your head nets, and just generally being aware. But I think I wouldn't allow the midges to put you or anyone off Scotland. There's so many, scare tales out there about what they can be like, and they can be intense, but most of the time you can get by just fine.
Yeah. I was sure. Like I'm coming from Ireland, and we have just as
I
bad a
know,
problem.
yeah.
I went up to the Mourne Mountains up in Northern Ireland
I
not
know,
too long
yeah.
ago, and yeah, it was my first really bad experience, because it would be just like, in terms of latitude, it's basically the exact same. So
Mhm.
I was getting pretty taxed.
And they're not that fun, but you can get
No.
by.
Well, when it's your first experience of that intensity, it was bad. But
Yes.
in hindsight, it's not that
Yeah.
bad. So you've done a lot more than that. You've hiked all over the UK, did the coast to coast, I believe, more than
Yeah, done
once.
that one twice as well now.
And did you go coast to coast and then coast back to other coasts,
No,
or
I didn't actually. So the Coast to Coast was the second trail I did. So that was when I
really?
was 17. Yeah.
Wow.
And again, I did that in 2018 because I wanted to film it properly for Wild. So 2018 was Coast to Coast, Two Moors Way, West Hallam Way, and the Great Glen Way. Usually do was initially starting with 4 or 5 trails a year, and now it's just trail.
And I suppose we haven't really touched on properly, but maybe you want to talk a little bit more about what Wild is and what it actually does stand for. You have mentioned it a good bit so far, but maybe give me the elevator pitch.
Yeah, I like that. I'll close the circle with that. So yeah, Wild I established in 2016. So when I started this National Trails Challenge, trying to walk all of the long distance trails in the UK. It was not a small challenge. I for some reason always seemed to aim big, but I was pretty certain I could do it. I had all the logistics. I'd raised some money for Kickstarter. I was ready to do it. But I basically, the reason why I fell on my face was because I was struggling with my mental health, as I said earlier. But I wasn't being honest to the camera about it. It never crossed my mind. I wasn't doing this for Wild. I was just purely doing this because I wanted to document the trails. And it was sort of as I was like lying there in a crumpled heap of existence a few months later that I realized that the only way I could do this and stay true to my passion is to be authentic. And that was sort of the first time I think in my life I'd really come into alignment with my values, and authenticity and living wholeheartedly is certainly, just a couple of key phrases there that I strive to live close to every single day. And it was 2017 then. Basically, I didn't get out hiking. I didn't even hardly do any day walks. I was just so low and struggling with my mental health, a lot of dangerous places. But I managed to get up to the Atlas Mountains in Morocco and climb Toubkal, which is the highest mountain in northern Africa. And it was the first time I sort of just mentioned a few times to camera about my struggles with my mental stability, keeping myself safe, and just generally trying to choose life on a day-to-day basis. And it felt good. It was very hard. It was very vulnerable, but it felt real, and it sat very well. And if I'm honest, that's sort of where Wild came from. I don't remember the exact point in time when it was birthed into an idea, a concept. But now, essentially, what I'm doing is, as we talked about, I'm going around the world shooting different films, different trails, all in alignment with the values of Wild and what we represent. But essentially, the mission statement is to inspire and empower individuals to get outside for the benefit of mental and physical health, whilst building meaningful connection with the natural world and with each other. So it's a long spiel, but essentially it's like, get outside, it'll be good for you. And it's great because we this year just launched a brand new website, and the visions I have for Wild are so big, it's just insane. And obviously sort of picking myself back up and ourselves back up with lockdown and COVID and how that's affected what we're doing has been hard, but it's very exciting. And as a big believer in giving and serving, which is everything that Wild represents for me, I see every day how that helps me to survive, to live, to thrive. And that's what we're really trying to introduce now is how can people use their outdoor time, use the empowerment that they get from nature to serve, to give back in order to manage their own mental stability. And I guess that sort of comes round to what we were just talking about with the conservation based stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I actually just thought, I was thinking earlier on, a kind of question that I'm not sure if you'd be comfortable answering it. If there was someone who was listening to this who is going through kind of mental challenges, and they're going through some mental health challenges, and they do have that wild spirit. It is something that they want to get into, but they just don't know where to start, and they feel that their mind is kind of playing against them. What kind of advice would you give to that person?
First of all, I say take the pressure off. Just give yourself some space, hold some grace for yourself. I think I mean, I don't know about you, but the beginning of lockdown was really quite overwhelming, not just because of lockdown, but because this whole movement of what you can use this time to do and how you can be better, you can get stronger, you can, eat cleaner. Like this whole be more, do more was right out there. And it was very overwhelming because if you actually felt affected by lockdown, you felt, I don't know, going through financial struggles with work, maybe you'd actually lost your job, you suddenly have a big noisy house and you're someone who needs quiet, you're quite introverted and inward. It's hugely overwhelming. How can you then take that time to be like, okay, I'm going to turn my life around because I have a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like I don't have to be X, Y, and Z now. I can invest in my health and X, Y, and Z. Like it's hard, and I think people almost felt guilty for struggling. And first of all, I want to just encourage people, like, it's okay. You don't need to feel guilty. You don't need to look at Instagram, look at Facebook, look at YouTube and see people doing these crazy trails, and you may have a yearning to do that, but break it down. I am someone who aims big, and the only way I can aim big is to break down those goals into small, achievable steps. And sometimes all that means in a day is to get up, to make coffee, and look at a guidebook. Maybe I'll get out with the dog around the block or something. It's those small steps, and it's celebrating every victory. You will get to that goal if that's where your heart is, if that's where your mind is. Invest in yourself and stay true to yourself, but be honest with yourself. And if it means one day you have to pack your backpack and just leave it by the front door because the packing is so big and overwhelming, then good on you. Cool. Step one, tick it off. Celebrate that. Again, day two, you're going to get in the car, you're going to drive to the parking lot. If you feel like you can go for a little amble, go for a little amble. And the reason why I say this, it seems very simple. It's like just go for a walk. But if you're having one of those, what I call a ceiling staring day, but you know that your heart wants to be outside, it's really hard. And I know so many people are stuck in, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, a depressive state. And trying to empower yourself and motivate yourself is hard. And you can then feel guilty and shameful that you're not doing well enough, you're not getting out, you're not pushing hard enough. And just want to sort of encourage people to, as much as possible, let that go, free yourself from those pressures, and just focus on what you can achieve. And then if you are looking to get into backpacking and you feel like, cool, this is something you want to do, you're ready to venture out, maybe start with your first overnighter somewhere local, maybe go with a friend. In fact, I was even working with a lady just after lockdown. She wanted to go camping, but she was so scared of everything involved. I just encouraged her to walk to a friend's house 10 miles away, camp in the garden and walk back again. And now she's gone and done some wild camping on Dartmoor. It really is just trying to sort of think outside the box and into what you can achieve, what feels achievable. And even if it seems simple to other people, you need to do what you need to do, because the only person you're going to be with out there is yourself. And it's really cool, actually, to be able to see your journey. From me starting camping when I was 18, I still struggle while camping. Part of my mental health is sometimes, I see things, I get really panicked, really flustered, and that can leave me very vulnerable. And being on my own in a wild camping situation, if there's a sound that I don't know, can actually be very dangerous for me. So I'm working on that myself with my own little steps, my own little goals. And, I often get questioned, why don't you do more wild camping? Like, oh, wild camping is great. You can go wherever you want to do. You're completely free. And I totally embrace that. But I know that I have to manage my mental stability. So I have to do what I have to do. And the same for anybody else. So if you want to jump on a trail, I'm super pumped for you. Welcome on board. Focus on how you can break that down if it does feel overwhelming. Join some online communities. And I've got my own through Patreon, actually. Super, super great space. People are just, it's just amazing what they're doing, getting out and achieving through the support and encouragement of each other. And just believe in yourself. That's a good place to start.
Nicely put. That was a really nice answer to a very difficult question. I think a lot of people can resonate with that, me, myself as well. And it just, self-compassion is one of the most important things you can practice in life. And I try to do that myself. I try to encourage that with friends, with families. Like, it's okay. You're doing enough. What you are doing right now is enough. Set yourself goals, but don't do it for somebody else. Don't do it for the Instagram post. Don't do it for social media or the gratitude from other people, or praise from other people. You do it for yourself. And if that is literally cooking yourself a meal, if that is going out and having a difficult conversation with somebody, or if that is going and hiking a 4-day camping and hiking trek, then then so be it. But just
Yeah.
thank or praise yourself for
Yeah.
the little bits and things you do.
And steer away from comparison, because that can be very dangerous. Just stay true to you and what you want to achieve, and that's what matters most.
Absolutely. So back to the trails.
Back to the trails, yeah.
let's talk. So what are trails in England have you done? You've done the coast to coast.
Yeah, coast to coast, West Ham Way, most of the South West Coastal Path, Cleveland Way, Ridge Way, Yorkshire Wolds Way, lots in, what's the North? Oh, that is the Cleveland Way. South Downs Way, North Downs. There's a bunch of trails.
There's a bunch of them. I'm just trying to get the SEO for
Bing, bing, bing.
But you've also gone internationally, and you've done the Tour de Mont Blanc. Which again is on my list. It is
incredible.
It is. I was speaking to Paul about it only recently. We did an episode on the Tour de Mont Blanc. I also spoke to Craig Adams there recently. He did it, and he's dying to go back and do it again.
Oh, same.
Oh God! All right, I need to book it.
Come on, go.
It's where do I go with that? Like, what was your highlight of the Tour de Mont Blanc, or is it in itself a highlight?
That question just excites me, because how do I put this? I have high expectations of myself, even though I don't consciously register them. And I've done a lot of trails, I've done a lot of tough things in my life, but I don't necessarily feel proud of them. I just kind of, as soon as I've done something really hard, I sort of acknowledge it, I celebrate it, and then I'm on to the next thing. Every time I finish a trail, part of my coping strategy is to think of the next one. But I, more and more I've been slowing down and just being able to embrace an experience. Like I am someone who does like to close a chapter. The reason why I'm telling you this is because the TMB, I made a film called Alive, and that is the first film I can categorically say I'm exceptionally proud of, because I worked very hard on that film. I just getting myself out there, even the morning before my flight, I was just almost paralyzed by terror. My mental health was so poor building up to that trip, because it was so overwhelming, and it's so hard to put yourself in the shoes that you're going to be in, walking in a different country, in a different climate, in a different environment. And it's hard to plan it. That the information you get online is completely contradictory. I had ordered guidebooks and they conflicted each other. And just getting myself on that plane, first of all, was a pretty decent highlight, because it was like the bubble popped. But then I didn't really have an itinerary. I wanted to do the trail in about 9 days. I ended up doing it in 7, because I just became, I thrived so much on that trip and just bombed along. I skipped places I was going to say. I did a wild camp at 2,500 meters on the Swiss-Italian border. And just, I have never known myself like that, just absolutely in my element. I had a real big mental crash at one point when a refuge I'd aimed to get to had no space, and I had literally no idea where to go. They told me I couldn't wild camp because it is actually illegal along the entirety of the trail, other than in designated wild camping spots. There were police about. I did have a ranger come up to me one time saying, make sure you're not wild camping, because it's a €650 fine. So you're being told all of this, and there's a lot of fear, that I was carrying, and I had a proper mental drop, because it was about 8 p.m. The sun was going down. I had no idea what to do, but I decided to just keep walking, because that's what I do best. And I had my quickest bounce back from a panic attack that I've ever had, because I looked up and I actually allowed myself to lose myself in the landscape that I was in the mountains, in the wildflowers, in the streams, in the snow, in the sky, and everything that was. And that is where I realized that I was in a place that really saw me come alive. And the story that I have to tell through that experience it stays with me every single day. In fact, this probably sounds exceptionally arrogant and vain, but the picture I took of myself on the sunrise of that wild camp, my tent and the mountains, and looking over Switzerland at 2,500 meters, just what that represented, that picture that I took, I actually have on my wall. I wake up to it every morning, because being able to see myself and what I actually achieved in that moment is so empowering. So the trail itself, essentially, long answer to your question, was the highlight, but I think just what I took away from it was the highlight as well.
Wow, another great answer, fantastic. That gave me goosebumps. No, that you put that perfectly, and the conversation with Paul was obviously a lot more intricate about like what happened along. But did the name Alive come before or after? Did you always intend on calling the movie Alive, or is it after? Because it sounds to me you were like, something
No,
happened here.
it came on the trail. Every title, every story I get. So, you know, the West Island Way film was Learning to Thrive. The Great Glen Way, that was a mouthful, was Seeing Beauty in the Ordinary. Coast to Coast is Embrace the Journey. Every story, every title I have for the films. And in one way I'm shooting myself in the foot because they don't help me get the biggest viewing, because it's not just coast to coast hike. It's actually a story that I'm telling. And that is always, always, always forged on the trail through my experience. I do go onto the trail looking for something to learn. And without fail, I come back with something. And Alive was in that moment. That's where I realized, all right, that's what this film's going to be about then.
I think that's
it's not intentional. It stitches together. The narrative comes together because I am a storyteller at heart. And again, it's just that authenticity. I'm having that experience. I share it with the camera as best as I possibly can. So it makes the story pop out quite easily.
Yeah, and I've watched the movie myself. It's fantastic. Anybody gets the time, please do watch it, because you do see your even in the way you speak, your voiceover throughout the whole thing. You can hear it in your voice. You're just delighted to be there. And that goes for all of your videos, but that one in particular,
special place for me.
You could definitely do it. So you're definitely going to go back anyway as soon as you
well, yeah, because there's all the alternative paths, and I didn't get to do all of them. So in theory, I haven't finished the trail yet.
You probably have to do it several times over if you want to do that.
So hard. Life is so hard.
And other international trails. Have you? I know you're planning to do the Malerweg, the Painters Trail in Germany.
Well, this year as well was supposed to involve some in Iceland, Sweden, so many different international trails. I mean, I've done the Bearway in the southwest of Ireland. That was fantastic. Did that last year. But Kilimanjaro I've mentioned, the Atlas Mountains I've mentioned. Done quite a lot in the Alps now as well, piecing things together, the Via Alpina. And yeah, the Malerweg, and possibly if we've got time, we'll be jumping on a couple of other trails here when we get to Germany in a bit as well. So international is becoming much more of the focus, but I don't lose the passion for what the UK has to offer.
Absolutely. And I know I've only done a small bit of hiking in the UK. I've done the South Downs Way, but nice. There's just even the difference between that and Ireland. Now, the hiking trails in Ireland are fantastic, but the UK just has something else, like the right to roam and the infrastructure around trails over there is absolutely fantastic. Do you have any plans for across the other way over in the US? Did you any trails that kind of you have your eye on?
I think, yeah, cool question. I mean, I do a lot of live sessions on YouTube, and every time without fail is, when are you going to do the Appalachian Trail? When are you going to do the PCT or the CBT? And I'm like, well, at some point, because I'd love to get that Triple Crown status, but you know, I'd love to head to the States. For me, you know, something like the PCT really appeals. Obviously a big chunk of time that I always told myself I could do the PCT after I got a degree, but I stopped my degree, so that's going well. But it's something that does appeal. I think for me though, when I look in, and again, it's only looking in, so I can't, you know, truly be representative, but it seems like a very different culture, you know, and especially with the release of the film Wild, which is funny because that's my company, you know, they, seeing how the PCT has really upped its, well, the number of people on the PCT is so much bigger now. I wonder if that would take away from the experience somewhat. And like, I know it's a very long time to be on the trail. It'd be nice to connect with people, but I'm definitely someone who does enjoy that sort of solo space, or that working through the challenges myself, because that's where the lessons come from. But I'll definitely get over there without fail. It's just a question of when. And I have to say, a little bit closer to home, sort of in Europe, and heading north to the Scandinavian countries is a little bit higher on the list at the moment. But bring it on. That's what I say. Stateside at some point.
Yeah, you said something there around the culture in the US, and definitely from our experience, there has, particularly on the through hikes, the Triple Crown. You know, the monster 2,500 mile hikes from border to border. it does seem to be a lot more about who you meet along the trail, because there's quite a, I suppose in ratio, or I suppose in as a percentage of the total amount of people that take on these trails, actually a small percentage of people actually end up completing it. Yeah. And they usually, it's because, not just because, but one of the reasons is because they've met people along the way and they've kind of egged each other on. But you are very much a solo hiker.
Yeah.
Do you do now? I know you're hiking with your partner on the Matterweg, and maybe some other trails, but do you ever hike with friends or family? I know you did the West Highland Way and Coast to Coast with your mum.
Yeah, it's a funny question, because I actually run monthly wild walks. Like, under normal circumstances, I take people out. I take groups of people out, mostly through the southwest of the UK, but branching out. I love that. I really do enjoy that connection time. I love meeting people on the trail. In fact, in the Alps, I had a bit of a situation. I might have taken the wrong path, sort of at the wrong mountain. But just that, that language barrier, like my German is reasonably poor, let's just put it that way, to be kind to myself. But, the community sense there, in the fact that I bumped into people and they were able to explain the situation, which was great. Filming isn't always the most, it doesn't help with map reading usually, let's just put it that way. But, I love that community sense. So that's certainly something that I hold dear to my heart. But yes, I very, very much value time on my own. Like, I've built that relationship with myself that I couldn't enjoy my own company. I need that space, like, every day, essentially, in order to process my thoughts, to set my intentions, to focus on my goals, and to be the best version of myself. Obviously we're traveling at the moment, but under normal circumstances, I do a morning walk every day. It's 5 miles. Takes just over an hour, and I'll listen to podcasts. I use that time for good input. I use that time for creativity. Often I'll come up with scripts and ideas then. I'm expressive. I like writing songs, so I'll write them then as well. So I really just need that space without any external noise, in order to tap into where I'm at inside. And honestly, in the last couple of years that I've been doing that, like, it has changed my life. Really just having that space and prioritizing that space just allows me to be the best that I can be for my relationships, for myself, for my company, and I think for the planet as well. It gets me out of my head and puts me in a little hot air balloon, gives me a bit of perspective and how I can be the best I can be.
Lovely. Now, on to the more serious stuff.
All right.
Food.
All right, you've got me. What do you want to know?
Okay. This is like my go-to when we were doing these podcasts. I want to know. Sorry, my phone is listening to me here. I want to know, what is your okay? There's 2 types of food I always ask. First of all, what is your pack snack?
Pack snack. Oh man, do you know what? We made some mean energy balls a couple of months ago. They were dates. They were almonds, Brazil nuts, and coconut. And oh my gosh, we devoured them. So, we made a little video as well. You can get them on the channel. But I enjoy them. I don't even know. Just generally, if it's food, I eat it. That's the problem. I mean, when I pop through a town, like, I always pick up some hummus, like hummus and carrots and stuff. Nice. Just because, if I'm camping, that's cool. I'll lug that for a distance, just for the novelty of it. But things like, date bars, basically as whole food and nutritional as possible. I'm going to just enjoy the experience. And I pretty much always got a couple of them on hand.
So you're not a sweet tooth like me?
Well, dates are quite sweet, don't they?
Dates are sweet, yeah. But no chocolate, no jelly bean, no
jelly. Well, I actually can't eat chocolate. I'm intolerant to cocoa, so that writes down. Yeah.
More for me, I suppose.
That's it. You can have that after date bars.
And the second layer would be, okay, you've just arrived into a town.
Yeah.
You've got your choice of any type of cuisine. You've done like a 30-mile day. Say 30-mile day. What do you go for?
Are we at a store or a pub, or what's the situation?
Oh, you're in a town and you've got your choice of cuisine.
Okay.
Now, right. I know this is the paradox of choice now. You've got it really, really difficult.
Well, I've lived this out a few times. So usually I scout out the first supermarket. If they have a salad bar, I'll go there and I'll get some salady stuff. Usually I end up buying a hot cross bun or some kind of bready thing just for the carb satisfaction. Then on occasion, I have been known to go to a pub and to order a full meal. Then I've been known to go out for an ice cream. So, it swings and roundabouts. Generally, I utilize the trail to eat a lot of food. But no, I always go for, as I said earlier, the sort of carrots hummus situation. I get so much joy out of that. I always pick up, an avocado, a couple of bananas. I like to get that fresh produce in, and I've been known to carry them a long way, probably further than most people would want to, because most of nature's produce is not very light.
Yeah, I've I don't know if you've seen our stories there recently. I've been kind of giving people our snack of choice, and my snack of choice, which is bog standard crackers, like cream crackers, cheese, red cheddar. And I don't know if you got a chance. Actually, you were down on the Barra Peninsula, so you weren't too far away from Ballymaloe.
Okay,
it's a relish. It's a sweet tomato relish.
Oh, I didn't get to try that.
Man,
okay, I'm working with you. Let's go, Scotland.
It is jet fuel. It will get you going. That's awesome. And my cuisine of choice is always pizza. Like
always pizza.
You will never be
I should send you a pizza from Italy. Actually, it probably wouldn't be that good then. Some good pizza here.
Yeah. So I want not much time left on this. So we've been actually talking for quite a while, and this is probably one of our longer episodes.
Good chat.
I want to know about your pack. Because it is something that we do get quite a lot of questions about different types of packing, and obviously every trail will have a different requirement based on the number of days you're out there, based on the weather, based on the terrain. But is there any kind of like key piece of equipment that you bring with you?
Yeah, my pack, I mean, it's funny because yes, every trail requires different things, but generally the thing that varies is just how much food I've got on me, food and water. So I can tell you how I pack my backpack, a bit of a mouthful. So first of all, at the bottom is sleeping bag, and then I have sort of a three sort of, what's three? Like not cauterized, but my brain's not working. Triple-ized, that'll do.
Oh yeah.
Setup. So it's like first aid kit, stove setup, and sort of food bag, things that I don't need. So they sort of sit on top of the sleeping bag, and then wash kit sort of slides down the side. And then the top is sort of clothing bag, things that I might need accessible in the day. I hike in the same clothes, no matter how long the trail is, in the same clothes. I just have a sort of wet pair for the day and a dry pair for the night. And then I've got my waterproofs and that sort of thing, just to make sure I stay comfortable when I'm on the trail. So essentially that never changes. What changes is the food that I take and how much I need. And I am one to look ahead if there's stores where I can buy things, because if I can get that pack weight down, then I will. People often underestimate how quickly your pack weight can get up, and then especially when you add camera equipment, tripods, batteries, charging setup, like it suddenly gets heavy very quickly. So that's where I always try and save weight as much as possible with things like food and water.
Yeah. I'm terrible with packing my bag. I definitely need to learn some lessons from yourself, but one person that is, well, he's actually getting really, really good is Paul, our CEO, and Paul, he's getting really good at packing his bag with all of the, ultralight, camping setup and stove and all that kind of stuff. But he brings his laptop with him every single time.
He did tell me that we spoke once.
Yeah, he has to. Like he does have to. And same with you. You have to bring your camera equipment, your tripods, your chargers, everything. You have to bring it with you. But it's just like, where's the balance? I'm just there happily hiking along with my like 2 kilos of Dubliner cheese and 4 liters of Ballymaloe relish. But yeah, no, I definitely have to learn something from that. This has been fantastic. We can go on. Is there anything that you want to kind of get across in the interview?
I don't think so. I mean, I've really enjoyed the chat, and just it's nice because I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. We've sort of explored wild and what that represents. We've explored the trails and why they're important to me, and sort of put a bit of encouragement out there, which is always nice as well.
Good. Yeah. Well, look, it's been absolutely amazing talking to you, and it's great to actually see your face for once.
Yes, that's it.
And hopefully the next time we speak, we actually get to see face to face at some point, and maybe even get a trail, go hiking sometime.
I'm on board.
So where can people find you, and where can people find Spend More Time in the Wild?
Yeah, so super easy. Just click Google Spend More Time in the Wild, or Abbie Barnes, Abbie for Abbie. I'll pop up there. Head to our Facebook page, head to Instagram page, just give us a little follow. Obviously YouTube as well is the key place for the videos. But if you did want to support Wild and what we're trying to do, we have got our Patreon community, which you can join. There is a small financial charge there, but everything goes into support with what we're doing, helping people to get outside, empowering people to get outside, and we really do have big visions for Wild and worldwide change, actually, to see people, partner with themselves, hopefully feel a little bit better, and serve the planet a bit more as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again, and enjoy your time in the Alps, enjoy the Matterweg, and we will definitely be having you on at some point in the future to talk about the Matterweg and any other trails that you're doing. Abbie Barnes, thank you very much.
Nice one. Thank you. You take care and speak soon.